All right. If we can, I would like to all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will have our representatives, our delegates from YAC, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So as soon as I'm standing, go right ahead.
The flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you very much. I will now move on to the roll call that I will do. And we will start with Trustee Borninski,
Good evening.
Treasurer Slavens.
Good evening.
Let the record reflect that Clerk Segrist is in attendance. Trustee Foster,
Good evening.
and Trustee Ganguly.
Good evening.
And we will let the record reflect that Supervisor Graham Hudak and Trustee Ansari are both absent from the meeting. All right. Now I have fulfilled my statutory duties of calling this meeting to order, and I will now request a motion to appoint Treasurer Slavens as President Pro Tem for the remainder of this meeting.
I make a motion to appoint Treasurer Diane Slavens as temporary President Pro Tem for this meeting only. Support.
All right, it has been moved by Trustee Foster, and it has been supported by Trustee Borninski to appoint Treasurer Diane Slavens as temporary President Pro Tem for this meeting only. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will now call for the motion. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Madam President Pro Tem, the meeting is yours.
Good evening. May I have the adoption of the agenda?
Madam Supervisor, I move to adopt the agenda as
Support.
presented.
Support.
Okay. Motion made by Clerk Segrist and supported by Trustee Gangoul. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, the ayes have it. We are going to go into presentation, recognition, and formal resolutions. And I do have Trustee Borninski is going to read the first recognition.
Resolution of Board of Trustees, Charter Township of Canton, Michigan. Resolution recognizing the retirement of Police Captain Gregory DeGrand. Whereas the Canton Police Department recognizes the importance of its employees. Whereas Gregory DeGrand was hired as a Canton Township police officer in 2001. Whereas Greg served as a patrol officer responding to calls for service, providing traffic enforcement, conducting criminal investigations, and responding to emergency situations throughout the community. Whereas in addition to his patrol duties, Greg served on several of the department's special units, including the Western Wayne Criminal Investigations Unit and the Western Wayne Special Operations Team. Whereas over the past 24 years, Greg promoted through the ranks of sergeant, lieutenant, and captain, providing leadership and oversight to his assigned shifts and command groups. Whereas Greg received numerous department awards and citations throughout his career. Whereas Greg's passion for police work was displayed through his dedication and commitment to the department and the community he so proudly served. Whereas Greg has maintained the highest level of professionalism in every aspect of his service with Canton for 24 years. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton is appreciative of the commitment to excellent services as demonstrated by Police Captain Gregory DeGrand. Further resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton does hereby recognize Gregory DeGrand for his commendable contribution to the Canton community and the Canton Police Department. Congratulations.
Support. Aye.
Resolution recognizing the retirement of Police Lieutenant David Juris. Whereas the Canton Police Department recognizes the importance of its employees, whereas David Juris was hired as a Canton Township police officer in 1998. Whereas Dave served as a patrol officer responding to calls for service, providing traffic enforcement, conducting criminal investigations, and responding to emergency situations throughout the community. Whereas in addition to his patrol duties, Dave served on several of the department's special units, including the Western Wayne Criminal Investigations Team and the department's Detective Bureau. Whereas over the past 26 years, Dave promoted through the ranks of sergeant and lieutenant, actively providing motivation, training, and guidance to his assigned shifts and special units. Whereas Dave received numerous department awards and citations throughout his career. Whereas Dave's passion for police work was displayed throughout his dedication and commitment to the department and the community he so proudly served. Whereas Dave has maintained the highest level of professionalism in every aspect of his service with Canton for 26 years. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton is appreciative of the commitment to excellent service as demonstrated by Police Lieutenant David Juris. Further resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton does hereby recognize David Juris for his commendable contribution to the Canton community and the Canton Police Department.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. And the third resolution?
Resolution of Board of Trustees, Charter Township of Canton, Michigan. Resolution recognizing the retirement of Police Lieutenant John Wallace. Whereas the Canton Police Department recognizes the importance of its employees, whereas John Wallace was hired as a Canton Township police officer in 2004, whereas John served as a patrol officer responding to calls for service, providing traffic enforcement, conducting criminal investigations, and responding to emergency situations throughout the community. Whereas, in addition to his patrol duties, John served on several of the department's special units, including the Detective Bureau and the Southeast Michigan Trafficking and Exploitation Crimes Regional Task Force. Whereas, over the past 20 years, John promoted through the ranks of sergeant and lieutenant, and providing training, direction, and knowledge to his assigned shifts and special units. Whereas John received numerous department awards and citations throughout his career. Whereas John's passion for police work was displayed through his dedication and commitment to the department and the community he so proudly served. Whereas John has maintained the highest level of professionalism in every aspect of his service with Canton for 20 years. Resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton is appreciative of the commitment to excellent service as demonstrated by Police Lieutenant John Wallace. Further resolved, the Board of Trustees of the Charter Township of Canton does hereby recognize John Wallace for his commendable contribution to the Canton community and the Canton Police Department.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Chief Ball, would you like to say a few words, please?
Certainly, we have 3 people that retired, that dedicated their life to the organization, and the one that's here tonight, Lieutenant Juris, was a picture of a police officer and leader, and it's nice to see him in the room with his shift. So it's pretty cool. If you would humor me, you might want to have Dave speak to you, and he can give you a little background on where he's at right now. Dave.
Please go to the microphone.
Thank you to the Township Board of Trustees. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve this wonderful community, every citizen here, so.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I had told Michael, I've been sworn in for the city clerk that I'm working with, and we did our first.
Congratulations. Yeah, we should probably do a little picture, if you don't mind.
And if I, if I can quickly, we want to do a picture, so everybody, come on up.
Come on up here, everybody.
Come on.
We missed. Oh, I don't.
Do we have anybody actually taking a picture? Or is it just a reflex?
I guess. Oh, Greg, oh, Greg. I guess
Police officers.
All right, type it up, come on, type it up,
There you
type
go.
it up, type it up.
Not at all, you're fine.
We put Michael.
Well, thank you very much.
That's right, we gotta get the business going.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
If I may,
Yes, please.
I had the luxury of working with Lieutenant Wallace, John Wallace, who received a recognition tonight for a number of years because he was responsible for the regulated businesses. And so he was the individual when he was a sergeant who would help us with massage establishments, smoking establishments, solicitors' licenses, and he really owned that position, and he was awesome to work with in the clerk's office. Police Lieutenant Juris, when he was a sergeant, was the command on election day, and he did a phenomenal job on a day that sometimes the public residents can get a little worked up, believe it or not, and we had to call him in at one particular time when a resident was just a little out of sorts at the polling location, and I was a little nervous about who was going to show up when we had to call police, and when I saw that it was Dave Juris walk in the door, I immediately smiled because I knew that no matter what was going to happen, the solution or the situation was going to resolve itself in a pleasant way, and the resident, the voter, would leave happy, and that was exactly what happened, and I think that was kind of indicative of his service here at Canton Township, and when he was responsible for records too. He was great to work with. And then Police Captain DeGrand, I am just, he stepped in when Kennedy retired, and he's been doing an amazing job. And he's got big shoes to fill. And I think, these three retirements, there's a lot of history walking out the door in Canton Township. There's a lot of phenomenal people who are being elevated into those positions. And I feel really comfortable about the organization, but also grateful that these three individuals dedicated so much of their life to Canton Township. And so So I'm glad that we did these resolutions recognizing them. So thank you, Chief, and thank you to the administration for doing that.
Any other comments? All right, well, we will truly miss them and wish them all well for their future. Let's see, next we have the the Youth Advisory Council update.
So my name is Neha.
And my name is Rohan.
So for our updates, the 2025 YAC grant is now open. Schools, organizations, programs that benefit youth ages 11 through 17 in the Canton community are eligible to apply. The suggested request is $100 to $1,000, and the deadline to apply is Friday, March 28th. The applications will then be reviewed at the YAC meeting on April 7th. We do have printed copies up here at the front if you're interested, and there's also an online form on the Canton Community Foundation website.
Up next, we have the LSAC survey, which has requested assistance in gathering input from high schoolers in Canton regarding the sports programs and facilities. It's been brought to the attention to YAC by Richard Wu, who is a youth delegate to the Leisure Services Advisory Council. And at the time of the January meeting, YAC developed questions and is now putting together a physical and digital questionnaire that strategizes its distribution.
YAC published its January newsletter, and the next newsletter will be published in April. We have printed copies up here as well.
So we have also created our human DEI boards, which for December was Human Rights Day, January was MLK Day, and February was Chinese Lantern Festival.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions on any of the agenda items?
Yeah, we did, but would it be all right if we ask them after each RBA is presented?
I thought we were going to do them at the beginning. Two? Okay.
So for RBA number 2, we had, what opportunities would you anticipate for the employee once they turn 18? What hours would be expected for this position, and is it seasonal or year-long?
For RBA number 3, we said considering creating and filling a new clerk for and security for position in the police department.
Our questions for number 7 was, are there any other groups or departments that will be using the buses?
And our questions for number 8 were, what other responsibilities will Mr. Ahmad carry?
Okay, thank you. And I know you'll be staying here for the board meeting, so we'll have the answers for those. I appreciate it. And thank you so much for the update. Any questions from the board? No? Okay. And now we will go into any board and commission reports.
Just, we had a election commission meeting on Friday where we did a lot of really good work, and we both Trustee Ganguly and Trustee Borninski helped me review proposed boundaries for precincts, and we also looked at kind of initially some of the proposed polling locations, and there was some really good feedback from the trustees about accessibility and distance. And so we have been working in my office to modify the proposal for potential voting locations. And then today, the deputy and myself traveled to some of the locations and did we mapped the distance as well. And so we're going to have an additional meeting potentially for the Election Commission prior to bringing an RBA forward. But we've got some good information. I think the recommendations from the Election Commission are going to be feasible. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I think we've got some good options. And I think the board will be very happy. But yeah, so we're still working on it, but we're getting close. And so we got some really good work. I think we worked for about 2 hours or close to it the other day.
Very good.
Next week on the 18th, there is going to be a joint Township Board Planning Commission meeting. So I'm looking forward to that. At our last Planning Commission meeting, we considered 3 rezoning applications. One was a property on the north side of Getty's between Bar Road and Denton Road. The other was a property on Ford Road between Interstate 275 and Lots Road. And the third was another property on the west side of Lots Road between Ford Road and Cherry Hill. And the Planning Commission did recommend that those 3 rezonings move forward, and they will come to the Township Board.
Good, thank you. Anyone else?
So this upcoming Thursday on the 13th, we will have our quarterly Cultural Commission meeting, and we are in the process of making sure of electing our new chair and vice chair for the next years. And we have plans for giving away more sponsorships and discussing many other projects that we are trying to do, like the 50 years cultural retrospective and the Michigan Visual Artist Hall of Fame, and giving some funding to PCCS and gallery. So these are what we are planning for the quarterly meeting.
And then I met with the Senior Advisory Council. We hadn't met in quite a few months, but we met last week. It's a larger group, which is wonderful, and we set some goals for the year, so we're looking forward to meeting. We meet once a month on Mondays. And then the Nankin Advisory Board, I met a couple weeks ago with them. They had somebody speak on the Smart Flex Zone. I'll be meeting again with them next Thursday. So far, it's working out well. They have their 12 buses working, and they have staff for the 12 buses. So things are looking good for the Nankin. They did have to shut down one day, I think it was on the 6th, because of the ice. So they weren't, the buses were not available. But they did have a number of folks could call if they had to get to their dialysis or that. Okay, and now we will move on to the approval of, public comments. Do we have any public comments on agenda items only? Public comments on agenda items only?
Check online.
And yeah, you could check online to see if there's any public comments on agenda item only. Please raise your hand if you have a comment.
I saw Michael Kennedy there. Michael, you had indicated that you had wanted to make public comment if you were available or have it read. Would you like, I don't know if you're paying attention. Would you like, oh, there you go. All right, I'm going to allow you to. Here, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Michael.
Hello, sorry, I think I was muted. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Sorry I couldn't be in attendance tonight. First and foremost, I saw retired Lieutenant Juris in attendance there with his shift. If he's still in the room, I want to share my congratulations to him and also thank him for his years of service to the Canton community. The other comment that I had was regarding, I believe it's agenda item number 8, which talks about an appointment or recommendation for the Board of Ethics. I had noticed that was on the agenda for tonight, and I have consistently expressed my interest in that position since I applied in August of 2023. I was somewhat disappointed to see a recommendation being made without any interview or further consideration of the application and qualifications. And I understand that the Board of Ethics is, those three positions are either selected by the board, the supervisor, or the HR manager. But previous communications from the township staff was that I'd be informed of the next steps. I haven't received any communication regarding that since February 1st of 2024. Trying to have an open outlook on this. I look forward to hearing the current recommendation that's developed and how that recommendation was developed. And I'll try and stay in attendance until the time that that's discussed, but wanted to share my public comment. Again, congratulations to Lieutenant Juris, Captain DeGrand, and Lieutenant Wallace on their retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments? Yes.
Good evening. Dan McCausland, 328 Haggerty Road. I would like to also say congratulations to those officers that dedicated their lives here to Canton Township. You know, I knew all three of them, especially Officer Juris, because, you know, he was broke in by a well-known community policeman, Fred Pytel, who used to, you know, travel around to the business district and patrol. Those guys always had a police presence in the community, and they always had you feeling safe. And with that support of the chief and the community policing that takes place in this community is outstanding. I hope we carry that on with these guys that replace somebody like Officer Juris. You know, you could see he dedicated his life to this community, and he came in every night late. You know, 7 to 7 is a tough shift for 26 years, and I think you don't see really what happens behind the scenes. These guys are really, you know, unsung heroes of this community. They keep us all safe. And sometimes people don't really recognize them, but I think deep down, you know, we should be very grateful to have people like that, that will stay 26 years in this community and be as humble as that guy was, you know, and grateful. He's grateful for us. I'm grateful for him, because there's many nights where I worked late and he rolled up, hey, what's going on? And I knew I was safe. I know I'm safe. So hats off to them. Hats off to the chief for always doing a good job. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other public comments on agenda items only? Go on to the next. And approval of minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
All right. Madam Speaker Pro Tem, I move that the board approve the minutes of January 21 and January 28th of 2025 as presented.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segrist, supported by Trustee Gangoul. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right. Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move on to the treasurer's payment of bills.
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to pay the bills.
Can I have a support?
Support.
Okay, motion made by Trustee Borninski, supported by Trustee Foster. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, can we go down to the consent calendar?
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move that the board adopt the consent calendar as presented. Item C1, consider approving the renewal of Next Request FOIA software. C2, consider approval of the purchase of one 2025 Ford Transit 12-passenger van for recreation. C3, consider approval of the purchase of one 2025 Ford F-150 for facilities services. C4, consider approval of the purchase of one 2025 Ford Maverick Hybrid for engineering services. Item C5, consider approval of the purchase of one 2025 Chevrolet Tahoe for the police department. Item C6, consider approval of a resolution to make an application for 2025 annual MDOT maintenance permit. C7, consider approval of a resolution for the Wayne County Department of Public Service 2025 annual permit package. C8, consider awarding a contract and purchase order to replace the 2 HVAC units for the public safety gun range. Item C9, request approval for administrative building security camera additions. C10, consider approval for security camera replacements at the Public Works Building and the Water Booster Station. And finally, item C11, consider approving additional funds to Fishbeck LLC for the construction, engineering, and project management services.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segris, supported by Trustee Borninski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We'll go down to the general calendar. 1. And it is to consider approval of a 3-year contract extension with Reliable Landscape for 2025 through 2028 lawn maintenance contract.
All right, Madam Chair Pro Tem. I move to award a 3-year contract extension to Reliable Landscaping Incorporated for mowing and lawn care maintenance for an amount not to exceed $51,323 per year.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segris, supported by Trustee Ganguly. As a result of the 2021 RFP, Reliable Landscaping was awarded a 4-year contract for mowing and lawn care maintenance with an option of a 3-year extension upon negotiation between Canton Township and Reliable Landscaping. Reliable Landscaping has been a longtime service provider of Canton, offering quality service, dependability, and fair pricing to the township. Reliable Landscaping and Canton Parks worked to negotiate the terms of a contract and are recommending to extend the current contract for an additional 3 years with a 3% increase in their 2021 pricing for a total of $51,323 per year, including $2,500 contingency. Director Holenberger, do you have anything?
No, we've been happy with our services with Reliable. They've been with us for a number of years. We bid it out 3 years ago, and they're only giving us a 3% increase after that time with everything, as prices of everything else are going up. We think that's a pretty solid increase, so looking forward to continuing our relationship.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. G2, consider the addition of therapeutic recreation junior program leader position to the part-time wage scale.
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to approve the addition of the Therapeutic Recreation Junior Program Leader to the part-time wage scale at level 1.
I have a support.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segris, supported by Trustee Foster. Canton Township has historically had a junior day camp counselor for summer camps and Canton Activity Crew and Canton Camp. The addition of the junior therapeutic program leader position is a natural progression of programming to allow youths ages 16 to 17 to be exposed to the field of therapeutic recreation while making a valuable contribution to the Canton community. In addition, the Junior Therapeutic Program Leader position also helps to expand the hiring pool of candidates to ensure the Community Development Division is able to meet the ever-growing needs of the residents who participate in these camps. Let's see, it looks like Director Howell, do you have any comments?
I don't have anything to add, but happy to answer any questions, and we'll
Okay.
yield to Director Lefevre for the questions from YAC.
Yeah, and just to answer some of the questions that came up, some great questions from our youth council regarding this position. And I want to thank HR for helping to create this position and get it proposed to add to the wage scale. So adding this position is going to help us help us grow our ever-growing programs in therapeutic rec, as many of you know. So by offering positions for 16 and 17-year-olds, it's kind of a precursor for our senior counselor or our day camp counselor positions, so that we'll be able to train younger camp counselors to be ready for the next level. And so to answer the question, yes, this kind of is a lead-in for 18-plus positions, 18 years and older positions. The hours are typically summer camp hours, so they're 9 to 5. We add in some special events, nights and weekends. Those are usually added hours that our staff can sign up for to help out on special events like Liberty Festival and concert nights and things like that. And then we have both seasonal and year-round positions. So there are opportunities for staff, depending on how they're hired, to work with us year-round and different events as well. So we're excited. These positions are going to help, like I said, lead into positions that will keep staff with us for hopefully multiple summers, 2 to 3 years. And we all know the benefits of keeping staff here and helping with training, and you just get a higher level of employee when you can retain them. So we're very excited. This is going to be a great ad for us.
Is there any questions or comments? Clerk Segrist?
Can I can remember what the question from Yak was about this issue, because I just can't remember what it was. Can you?
Yeah, yeah, they were, so the questions were mostly about what opportunities are there for folks who fill these positions beyond 16 and 17 years old? So what happens once they're 18? So it's kind of like, able to take that next step into the next level of position. So it's a step up right into a camp counselor position. So this is a junior, so there's kind of a senior level available to them next at 18. And then it was about the hours that they would work, and
Okay.
as well as are there seasonal and year-round opportunities?
Okay. Good questions.
Any other questions? Kate, did you?
Yeah, I in my past was involved with a camp, and we had junior counselors, and I think this is a fabulous idea, so thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
Questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Go to G3. Consider creating and filling a new Clerk 4, Secretary 4 position in the Police Department.
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to approve the creation and filling of a new Clerk 4, Secretary 4 in the Police Department.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segrist, supported by Trustee Gangu. The Police Department is requesting a new TPOAM union position of Clerk 4, Secretary 4, be created and filled. Upon the board approval, this position will be posted and filled in accordance with the Human Resources and TPOAM procedures. Funds for this position are included in the 2025 police budget. Director Baugh, do you have anything you want to say, add?
Certainly, a few things, actually. Today, police officers were doted upon for our work, but it's the folks behind the scenes that often make us look wonderful. And I know the township clerk is aware of this, and part of this job allows us to distribute some work, and the work around FOIA and discovery is quite incredible. We've known, at least for about 8 years, that this position needed to be filled and created within the organization. All the while, we'll be working with the Township ITI department to capitalize on ITI advances, especially around AI. But the demand around discovery and FOIA has grown so much. We have to be mindful of it, especially since the inception of body cams. And to distribute the work evenly, this is a needed position. It's not sustainable, what we're doing to our employees right now. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Clerk Segrist.
I'll just add, I remember probably within the last couple of years, we kind of broke 1,000 FOIAs a year, and now we do more than that, way more than that. But that was a big milestone. But I will tell you, about 80% of the FOIAs, maybe more, go through police. And so this has been a long time kind of coming. We've had some, Chief and I had a lot of conversations about this in the lead up to here. So I'm just happy to see this kind of brought forward. And I think it's a good, it's a good position, and it makes sense. And it's good to have the additional support in the on the police side to handle that volume. And there's so much when it comes to standards that have to be done and met on the police side because of predominantly criminal justice information and trying to ensure that we meet federal and state police standards. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in this position and relieving the pressure based on the volume that's going through there.
Other questions or comments? I know most of the FOIAs do come over to you, so this will be definitely helpful, especially for the clerk's office, or for everybody. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. We'll go on to G4. Consider the first reading of amendments to the Code of Ordinance to amend several sections related to the sewer use and industrial waste pretreatment requirements for users discharging to the Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority wastewater treatment plant.
All right, Madam Speaker, or Chair Pro Tem, I move to introduce, Speaker, watching too much. All right. I move to introduce and hold the first reading of the proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances as provided in the attached ordinance to amend Chapter 74 entitled Utilities, Article 4, Sewer Use and Industrial Waste Pretreatment Requirements for Users Discharging to Ypsilanti Community Utilities Authority System, Sewer Use Only.
Support. Thank you. Motion made by Clerk Segrist and supported by Trustee Foster. To manage Canton's wastewater, to the township's delegate certain treatment responsibilities under state and federal law to operate of the Ypsilanti Community Utility Authority, or YUCA, wastewater treatment plant. A critical component requirement of this delegation is for the township to adopt and enact a sewer use ordinance that at a minimum meets the adoption ordinance for the operation of YUCA system. Recently, YUCA amended the update, so its sewer use ordinance, and under our agreement with YUCA, the township must now amend the SUO, the sewer use ordinance. The primary purpose of adopting the amendment to the SUO is to enact the necessary legal authority for implementing a special alternative limits SAL program. A SAL program will allow YUCA to better accommodate industrial commercial needs in our community by allocating available treatment capacity directly to permitted discharges. In addition, the proposed revision incorporate re-evaluated local limits for toxic pollutants in the inclusion of local limits for certain peri- PFAS and PFOS, substances commonly referred to PFAS and PFOS. These groups are pollutants of emerging concerns for Yucca and Eagle. Finally, Yucca staff incorporated additional revisions to improve the consistency and effectiveness of the SUO. Director Norwood, would you like to speak on this?
Thank you, Madam President Pro Tem. I do apologize for the technical jargon that's part of this. Really, the bottom line is we have a great relationship with Yucca through Watua, where our wastewater goes to, and they have taken steps to upgrade their system and address some of the things that have been directed them through Eagle for the state, and through PFAS, as some of you may be familiar with. PFAS is an emergent pollutant that has to be managed. And in the case of Canton, we're concerned about the different facilities that may put PFAS into the wastewater stream. So this will allow them to use this ordinance to regulate that. The SAL is a means where certain industries pollute more stuff into our system, but Yucca can handle it. So they want to be able to give certain industries the opportunity to be able to run their businesses and potentially have more pollutants go into the system, but they can still manage it. It's not creating more pollution that we're going to see in the Rouge River, but the way it in the past has just been done evenly out through all the communities that are served by Yucca. Now they're going to be more identified towards certain industries. We don't have anything in Canton right now, but that's just part of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions or comments?
Would it have been possible to put another acronym inside of this background?
I struggled
impressive
when I was
government.
writing.
We get an award for RBA that uses the most acronyms. You did it.
Again, I apologize for all the technical jargon.
It's fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. All right. Item. G5, consider approving the updated Western Wayne County Police Mutual Aid Agreement.
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to approve Canton Police Department's continued participation in the Western Wayne County Police Mutual Aid Agreement.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Sechrist, supported by Trustee Borninski. The Police Department is requesting the board to approve Canton's continuing participation in the Western Wayne County Police Mutual Aid Agreement by signing on to the updated October 24 document. This mutual aid agreement was originally put into place in 1987 and has proven to be a valuable resource to all of the 22 law enforcement agencies, communities involved. Chief Baugh, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, a little background on this, just for your awareness. Emergency Manager Will Hayes helped lead this effort with myself to update this plan. It's a force multiplier, for lack of better terms, for when something major occurs, when the authorized strength cannot support that community. So we leverage this to support whatever event that needs to be. So something extraordinary happens tonight in Livonia or Canton and Van Buren, we all can come and support that. So thank you.
Great. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Six, to consider approval to accept a grant from the Partnership for the Arts.
Um, Just wondering if any of the trustees need to.
Support.
Accuse themselves?
I don't, well, one, yeah, I don't
Because it's a
know,
grant from the Partnership for the Arts.
but I don't know, okay,
Is
I
anybody
can
on
recuse myself.
I don't know if you
that?
need
Oh,
to.
Tanya's.
Just trying to like quickly think through the ethics ordinance if receiving a grant. I don't think it was, okay.
Well, if you want to be,
Yeah.
then she could recuse herself, just in case, right?
President Pro Tem, I would like to recuse myself from this RBA because I am on the board of the Partnership for the Arts.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Sechrist, supported by Trustee Borninski. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
All right, Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to amend the related budget and accept the Partnership for the Arts grant of $5,900 for expanded theater education programming in 2025.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Sechrist, supported by Trustee Foster. In the fall of 2024, the Village Theater at Cherry Hill applied to the Partnership for the Arts Grant Program. In December, the Village Theater was notified that it was eligible to receive $5,900 in grant funding to expand the summer theater program. The theater's education team will use the funds for Camp Canton and Therapeutic Recreation summer camp participants. This includes bus transportation from the campsite to the theater and offering a fully inclusive and sensory-friendly version of the summer production for those with disabilities. Community Development recommends accepting the Partnership for the Arts Grant for $5,900. A budget amendment is necessary. And then Director Lefevre, do you have anything you want to add?
Just that we were very excited to be one of many recipients of the Partnership for the Arts grant gifts this year. So this is a direct result of the partnership granting the community $50,000 of their funds this year in an effort to do this annually. So the theater was a recipient, and we look forward to exposing a lot of our camp participants to the arts this year through our different summer camp programs. So we're very excited. The staff is very excited, and we look forward to what the summer will bring.
Thank you. Any board comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations. That'll be a good. Now we will move on to G7. Consider approval of a purchase order increase for the 2025 bus transportation services.
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to approve the amendment to the contract with National Trails LLC and increase the 2025 and 2026 purchase orders by $2,482 each year for a total amount not to exceed $38,775.
Okay.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Sechrist, supported by Trustee Ganguly. On May 14th, 2024, the Board of Trustees approved the award of a 3-year bus transportation service contract to the National Trails LLC with a 2024 purchase order amount not to exceed $34,293 which included a bus contingency amount of $2,415. Due to the unanticipated additional use of the services, staff recommend an increase to the National Trail LLC purchase order by $2,000 to finish the remainder of the year. On October 8th, 2024, for a total purchase order amount of $36,293. A total of $35,619.50 was spent in 2024. In 2025, the Block Youth and Teen Center will expand its summer program in field trips, thanks to the out-of-school time grant, and will need to increase its expenses by $1,482. In 2025, the Village Theater at Cherry Hill will expand its summer production camp and, for the first time, offer off-site field trips for students to learn about the theater and arts in various forms. This expansion is thanks to the Partnership for the Arts grant that was awarded to the theater in January 2025, and it will result in an increase in expense of $1,000. In addition, Leisure Services and Community Development have identified a need to separate their combined budget due to the relocation of the department duties, resulting in the addition of a new transportation account for Leisure Services Camp. These additional grant funds received will increase the purchase order from $36,293 to $38,775. Director Lefevre, do you have anything you want to add?
So please accept our apologies for some housekeeping items there, but this is really just the result of some program growth, which is great. Obviously, a couple of grants that we received, and then really just planning ahead for some overages that we had last year that we had to come to the board for after the bid was awarded. So we're just trying to get in front of that, making sure we don't do that again this year, while planning for some program growth through the result of a couple grants. So all good stuff here, planning ahead, getting in front of it. We're really looking forward to a summer full of activity for all of our camps.
Thank you. Any questions, Michael?
I would just like to take this opportunity to express to the other members of the Board of Trustees that this to me is an example of an RBA that I would be interested in not considering in the future if we were to aggressively look at our purchasing policy when it comes to the issuance of purchase orders for specifically large projects like this. So potential purchase order increase of $2,500, I would be very comfortable, especially since we're not making a budget adjustment here, with that not necessarily having to come before the board in the future. But again, I'm sure other people may have interest in that. But I am thinking that there are opportunities for us to potentially spend more time discussing more controversial or at least relevant items to the community writ large if we had a purchasing policy that gave the organization of this size a little more flexibility in managing its finances.
Thank you.
If I could, sorry, I also want to add, the Youth Advisory Council had asked if there were any other groups or departments that will be using the buses. So these buses, this is part of the larger bid. So these buses provide trips for all of our summer camps. So there are, if I am correct, there's at least 5 different summer camp programs, 5 different divisions, if you will, that these buses are utilized for. So it's a good number of programs, and this year we will be adding the Village Theater to that group. So this is a full complement. The bid is done for the entire department for all of our bus needs for the summer camp programs. So yes, the question, so it's used throughout the Recreation Division.
Thank you. Very fortunate to have such great programs. Good to see they're growing, too. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. And we'll go on to G8. Consider appointment to the Board of Ethics.
Madam Chair Pro Tem, I move to appoint Haris Ahmad to the Board of Ethics as the Township Board appointee.
Support.
Motion made by Clerk Segrist, supported by Trustee Foster. On May 8th, 2018, the Township Board approved a second reading of the Code of Ethics, which amends Chapter 2 of the Township Ordinance and created a Board of Ethics to hear complaints. The outgoing township appointee to the Board of Ethics, Sharice Anderson, resigned after being elected to the Third Circuit Court of Michigan. Trustee Borninski, Trustee Foster, and Trustee Ganguly compromised an ad hoc ethics committee and have nominated Haris Ahmad as the Township Board appointee to fill this vacancy. Clerk Segrist, do you want?
So I will start with the question from the Youth Advisory Council. It says, what other responsibilities will Mr. Ahmad carry? And, he will serve on the ethics, the Board of Ethics. Canton Township has as an ordinance that establishes the Board of Ethics. The sole purpose of that board is to hear complaints against public officials if there is reason to believe that somebody has violated that ordinance. So the board is not called, and so the members of the Board of Ethics have little to no duties or responsibilities outside of that process. We will, now that we have fulfilled, if the board appoints this position, we will have all three appointees in place. We will do some internal housekeeping as a group. I serve as secretary to that board. And so there will be likely a meeting to go over some internal rules for the conduct of the Board of Ethics. A great example would be that the township has a merit commission, and the merit commission has a policy manual that they adopt and they create that regulates how the merit system is conducted. Something similar would be done for the Board of Ethics. But the duty is very minimal unless there is official business before that Board of Ethics. And that's just was a kind of a reform that was brought in 2018 to try to create some transparency around how government is conducted in Canton Township.
Any other comments? Foster?
I would just like to add that with the recommendation of Haris Ahmad, we received, I think, about 18 applications for the ethics committee. There was really great people that applied to the process. Many of them applied to other boards and commissions as well. I believe Brendan from the clerk's office forwarded us all of the applications in September of last year. And we met sometime, I think in October, to consider and to make a recommendation to the township board. Terrible timing on my part. I sent the email to the clerk about a week before the election. And it got lost. I reminded him, I think at our last board meeting, that I sent the email. And so thank you to Clerk Segrist and Brendan for getting this RBA done. And apologies that it took so long, and apologies for any lack of communication on the appointment or the recommendation that we made.
Yeah, as Trustee Foster said, we discussed this quite a while ago, and knowing that Sharice Anderson, who had to leave the Board of Ethics, was an attorney, it was really important to us to make sure that we had someone with a good legal background and Mr. Ahmad is also an attorney, and, since they're looking at things that are relevant to the law, such things as, whether or not there's a conflict of interest that elected officials might have, things like that, it was really important to have that background.
Yeah, and I will just kind of own kind of my portion of this. The Honorable Judge Anderson had resigned fairly early on, and unfortunately, 2024 was a very unique year for the clerk's office in the sense that we had never run 5 elections before, and our first election was in January. Our second election was in February. Our third election was in April. Our fourth election was in August, and our fifth election was obviously the big dance in November. And then also 3 of those elections, we were conducting early voting for the first time. And the rules of the elections had not really been written yet. And on top of that, one of our elections was conducted under the previous law. And we were also conducting the January election was being conducted under the statutes for regulating elections from before. And the February election was being conducted under a new set of laws. And this was the first time, I believe, in Michigan history that you had 2 active elections occurring at the exact same time. So there were voters in Canton who had 2 ballots in their possession for 2 different valid elections. Needless to say, it was like trying to build a plane and fly a plane and do a Rubik's Cube while you were also doing it. So definitely dropped the ball on the Board of Ethics when it came to the promotion. And so I could see where that would be, frustrating for people who are very eager to serve on the Board of Ethics. Now, as a trustee or somebody who's voting on the appointment, I really do appreciate the kind of thought that went into this appointment. I know the HR representative, Eric Paul, who serves, is a Canton resident and longtime retired police chief of Redford, and he brings with him a lot of law enforcement background, and that has been helpful in the past when we were initially working on the rules, because he brought up a lot of concerns about probable cause, some of the language in the ordinance and in our rules that, and solely from an investigatory standpoint, Judge Anderson had not only been an attorney, but she served on the Attorney Grievance Commission and the bar ethics, and so she was like an investigator of attorneys. And so she had a lot of really good background, and then as the township board appointee, and then as the supervisor appointee is longtime retired now pastor of Geneva Church, Brian Smith, who had done a lot of work in the community as a leader. So this kind of notion of a faith leader, a public safety representative, and an attorney has been kind of an interesting culture on that board that really is an interesting way when you think about ethics and you think about the application of those standards to behavior. And so, I served on the ethics subcommittee, the first recommendation, and we had about 20 good, solid applications, and it was very, very difficult. And Supervisor Graham Hudick served on that when she was a trustee, and a trustee Anthony served on that, and he brought with kind of his FBI background, and we had some, if you worked with John Anthony on anything, we had a lot of laughs, a lot of blunt talk, which was really cool too. But we all 3 agreed on her as the number 1 choice, and that was so it made that choice really, really easy the first time around. And I was happy to see all 3 trustees step up in this capacity on the ad hoc Ethics Committee, and I was glad I did not have to serve. And so thank you for your recommendation, and I support it.
Well, yeah, I appreciate too. 18, you went through 18 applications. It's great to see residents want to be involved, and I'm sure you guys had a lot of thought going into it, so I appreciate that too. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay. Are done with our requests. Now, any additional public comments? Do we have any additional public comments? Any additional public comments? Online, do we have any?
There are no attendees on the internet, with the exception of Director Trumbull. Hi, Wendy.
Okay, well, do we have anything, any of the directors would like to say? Anything going on?
She just
Leisure service or?
Just a reminder, we have a winter pop-up event at the Village Arts Factory. Anybody who's into cardio drumming on Thursday night, come out and join us. And then, of course, on Sunday is our first winter farmers market out at the Village Arts Factory. So that's a very popular event. So the first of 3 winter farmers markets this Sunday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Good. Other comments? No? Okay. Does the youth advisory have anything? No? Okay. We'll go down the line for the board. Trustee Ganguly, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate our 3 police officers and thank them for their service for the last, if I'm correct, probably their total service is probably more than 60 years in the community. And also commend Chief Ba on having such a wonderful police force, and he's always working to make it better and helping the community and keep the community welcoming and safe. So thank you.
Foster.
Completely agree with everything that Trustee Ganguly said. The only thing I will add is Happy Valentine's Day this week.
Clerk Seegers.
Thank you to Canton Police and to the administration, specifically including building and inspection services. I know we had a very notable event in Canton this last week, which was the opening of Raising Cane's, and they did raise Cane with that long line. And but to the best of my knowledge, it was mild inconveniences. Strong feelings about the chicken, and strong feelings about the cars. Also, but I appreciate that they were out there making sure everyone was safe. That was intense. I think they broke a franchise record, so that's pretty impressive. I'm glad that we kind of kept everybody safe, and I'm glad that Raising Cane's will be reimbursing the township for the overtime of the officers who worked there, and additionally that MSD and Building Inspection Services ensured, that Raising Cane's followed the appropriate procedures in getting their special event permit so that they could have the ribbon banners out in front, which is, something that is a luxury in Canton Township if you can get that, and not a standard. But I have yet to have the chicken. Lindsay, my wife, did. She had the chicken, and I have not had it yet, but I will. That's it.
Well, thank you. And Trustee Borninski.
So I also echo the thanks for our police officers who are retiring, and thank you so much for your service. I'm saying that to all 3 of them. I think probably most people know by now that we are expecting some snow events, and just wanted to remind everyone to be careful, drive slowly, and please, please, when you are able to, clear the snow off your sidewalk and the ice.
Thank you. Well, I echo everything being said here. And then also, want to remind our folks that taxes are due this Friday. And with the weather, I had a lot of people coming in today to pay because they knew that Thursday and Friday might be kind of difficult. So it has to be paid by Friday, otherwise you have a penalty of 3%. So please come in and pay your taxes by Friday, end of the day. Also, February is American Heart Month awareness. We just want to make everybody aware of that. And we had Go Red on Friday, so you probably saw a lot of women walking around in red, and it's just heart awareness for women because we don't have the same symptoms as men, so it's important that we keep our hearts healthy. That's it. Do I have a motion to?
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Segris, supported by Trustee Ganguly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Have a good evening.
Well done.
All right.
Your husband texted me in the middle of the meeting.